All right, welcome everyone to the EOS Fireside Chat for January 4th, 2023. Today we're talking, of course, about the upcoming Eden elections on Saturday. There's also a couple other news over the holidays. Defibox and Pomelo NFT campaign. There was a EOS Holiday giveaway campaign on Twitter from the ENF over the holidays. There's another one coming up for the Lunar New Year in January. There was a new Architects of Consensus blog post and a couple other news. And so we're going to be talking a bit about that today. And of course, probably a lot about Eden with the election coming up on Saturday. A lot of new members are joining Eden. A lot of new members are joining the election. So should be pretty interesting. Of course, at any time, you guys are welcome to jump into the conversation. Fortunately, we got no sound effects today, so I will invite you guys to jump in even faster into the conversation. Gabriel, I'm going to mute you for now. And so if you're not aware and if you're new to the EOS community, EOS is a layer 1 smart contract platform that is governed by its community. It's the only crypto network that has had a foundation emerge organically from within the community years after the launch of the network. Since the creation of the EOS Network Foundation 1 year ago, the new EOS has seen an incredible acceleration of progress and innovation. The EOS Network Foundation has built an excellent team that's been able to quickly establish essential frameworks that empower the EOS community to do its best work through foundational initiatives like the Recognition Grants, the Blue Paper Research Series, Pomelo crowdfunding platform, direct investment framework, investments in Eden, the ongoing roadshow, and more. Community's been activated and energized to a level not seen since the launch of the network in 2018. EOS is in the midst of an epic narrative reversal, and the new EOS has the potential to become the greatest crypto story of all time. Yeah! My name's Stephane. I'm one of the co-founders of EOS Nation, currently a top-ranked block producer on EOS and other Antelope chains, and I'm happy and honored to be your host for today. So thanks for joining, everyone. Happy New Year to everyone. It's been a while since we've been on a fireside. Appreciate you guys letting us take a few weeks off. I had a good time spending actually my first Christmas in 3 years with friends and family. No one got sick. No one had to cancel because of COVID. It was pretty great. We did get sick. My family did get sick when we got back home on the 31st. But at least we got to see, all the friends and family, got to rest. I took some afternoon naps for the first time in a year. It was pretty glorious. I hope you guys had a good time as well. Hope you guys are recharged, ready to go get at it in 2023. Of course, big week this week with the January 7 elections. I'm sure we'll get into that, of course, later on in the show. We'll start with the other topics first, and then we'll see where the conversation goes. It does say 2022 recap and more. I'm not sure if we'll do a recap or not. I think people would prefer to talk about the Eden election, but we'll see where the show goes. This show is for the EOS community. We encourage you guys to jump in, ask your questions. If there's topics you want to discuss, if there's events of 2022 you want to bring up and discuss, of course, we welcome you guys to do that. If you're watching on YouTube, Discord, Facebook, Twitter, all the social medias, thank you for tuning in. Do make the effort to come join us on Discord and join the conversation live. Of course, you can ask on the mic or on the live chat here in Discord. All right, so before we get into the good stuff, a couple housekeeping items. Apologies for the November raffle ticket holders. I totally forgot to do that raffle over the holidays. So I'm going to make it up to you guys. I'm going to be personally adding some extra prizes for those November raffle token holders. The December raffle is also going down today. So you can still buy your raffle tickets if you've got 4 POP tokens. I'm going to share the link in the chat here in just a bit. But those tickets can be still bought for another hour. All right, yeah, so let's get into it. Or before we get into it, if anyone wants to say hi to the community, share a bit of maybe what they did over the holidays, or if they want to wish some well wishes to the community, Yeah, I'm gonna give a few seconds for some people to say hi with no background music.
Everyone, I'm Djstrikanova. I'm actually active a bit in Telegram. I'm Alex Dev. I'm with the Effect DAO, with the Effect Network. Anyway, I was hoping to wish you all, I hope you all had a good New Year's, like holidays. And just wanted to say that the open discussion, I'm free to talk about the Effect Network and stuff like that if anyone's interested.
Hey, shout out to the Effect Network. It's been a little bit since I heard from you guys. Glad you guys are joining us. Definitely interested in hearing updates from what you guys have been into. So yeah, we'll leave the floor open for maybe a few other people who want to say hi. But then yeah, if you want to kick off the fireside with some Effect Network updates, I'd love to hear them. But before we get into that, if anyone else wants to say hi, wish Happy New Year to everyone, jump on the mic. It's not
Happy New
scary.
Year!
There we go, Winfred coming in clutch. Rhett, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
Good, tired, a bit busy, a lot, excited a lot as well. Yeah, looking for some maybe afternoon naps next week when things maybe settle down a bit.
Gosh, same here.
All right, well, Djstrikanova, great name by the way. Did you want to kick things off with some Effect Network updates?
Sure. I guess we're actually in a big process right now, transitioning to putting like high guard in place, which is basically so we're trying with our DAO, we want to implement something called ATPs, which are arbitrary transaction proposals. So our DAO right now, if you want to like request funding for something in EFX, you can make a proposal and people vote on it. But the with ATPs, we could actually make a transaction, like create a transaction, and the high guard will sign it. So, for example, if we wanted the treasury to participate in a liquidity pool, we could just create a transaction for that and then vote on it and then sign it if it passes. And so that's like a cool thing I think we're in the process of doing. Aside from that, we had a hackathon last year when the Effect Network was in testnet, but then once we moved to mainnet, we had a launchathon, and there was like this project called QuickCAD, which was my favorite, and it's on Shopify. Basically, what I find really cool about it is on Shopify, people can pay for credits and requested like their products be classified. And it basically the way he implemented is he uses Stripe to buy him so he gets the money, and then he uses his EFX to pay the workers. So it's like EOS is working in the background for like just a web app that people use on Shopify. And so I think we're pretty proud of what he's done, and so we're hoping to kind of like do more hackathons in the future as well. I mean, I could ramble all day about Effect Network, but I don't want to like take up the whole show. So
That's it. That's a great. Yeah, no, that's a great intro. But I'll definitely give you at least a couple more minutes if you want to keep rambling on about Effect Networks. I haven't heard about it in a while, so I'm super happy, to learn more.
yeah, so like I guess over the years, Effect Network has pursued becoming more decentralized. So all the source code is now up on GitHub for all the smart contracts and all our front ends. And we have something called the Effect SDK, which is basically an NPM module. So if you know JavaScript and you have EFX, you can basically write programs that can tap into the workforce and send them over jobs to do and then get the results back and stuff like that.
Very cool. Very cool. Really wish I had my little music going.
Hey,
But okay, great. Well, yeah, thanks for showing up to the fireside. Definitely show up again in the future when you've got more updates, from Effect Network to share with us. And that goes for any other project that is, using the EOS blockchain in any way. if you wanna organize ahead of time, you can reach out to me on social media. I can kind of book you in the slot. You can also just show up anytime. We go as long as people have things to share. So you can definitely, any project can just show up here and share their updates with us. Usually we have, a few set topics that we go through, and then there's the open mic section where any project can share updates, any community member can ask questions or just shoot the shit, whatever it is. And yeah, so cool. Welcome back, Effect AI. All right, what else do we have on our agenda here? We have some Defibox and Pomelo NFT news. So that was released over the holidays. Defibox announcing that they're giving mining rewards for people who deposit their Pomelo NFTs. So people have been collecting our Pomelo NFTs over the last couple seasons. Oftentimes there's some extra ones left over in your collection. It was kind of designed that way. These extras now can be converted into fungible tokens, which can then be deposited into liquidity pools along with EOS and then earn mining rewards just like you would in any other Defibox liquidity pool. So we've got some rockets, some diamonds, some astronaut tokens, and a few others that you can deposit. And right now there's actually some bonuses, some extra mining rewards that Defibox is offering the Pomelo NFT holders. So if you have not been putting your NFTs to work, definitely encourage you to do so. And yeah, definitely big shout out and big thanks to the Defibox team for setting up this promotion for our Pomelo NFT holders. It does leverage a lot of the NFT tech that our team has been building over the last couple months, over the last year. Being able to swap your NFT for a fungible token, being able to swap, for example, a battle bot for a harvest bot, and all these other types of different diamonds with different features, making it much easier for our NFT holders to be able to interact with their NFTs, not necessarily have to rely on the Atomic Hub market to trade. We're creating some liquidity pools, all that stuff. So all of these concepts are kind of coming together and being promoted here through Defibox, which is really cool. So let's see some number ones in the chat if you currently have some NFTs in the Defibox pool. How many people are we? We're 50. I want to see at least 10 ones out here. At least 10 ones for people that have deposited NFTs in there. But it's definitely not too late. The promo lasts for, I think, 30 days for that extra, first 30 days, extra bonus rewards. But there's still going to be rewards, beyond that as well. Definitely, we're seeing a lot of ones. We're seeing some twos, not too sure. Lewis seems to be a bit confused. He wants to be a one. There you go. Awesome. So yeah, if you guys have questions about this stuff, feel free to jump in on here, ask them. Join us on Telegram, tag us on Twitter for Pomelo. Of course, we're happy to answer questions. In regards to the Season 4 Pomelo matching pool, the team is still doing its SIBOL analysis. It's going to take a bit longer than usual due to the holidays. The Pomelo team also took a little break, much needed, of course. But at some point in January, the matching funds for Pomelo Season 4 are going to be released, and any grant creator that earns some matching funds will be able to claim them. So don't know when, the date is not set yet, but it will be sometime in January. All right, so Defibox Pomelo promo. We had some other NFT action over the holidays, the EOS Holiday giveaway. Let's see some eights in the chat if you participated in the EOS Holiday giveaway and earned yourself a mystery box. See some eights in the chats. There we go. Some snowmen for the EOS Holidays. Tony, Winfred, Denis. We released some new NFTs during this promo for the community NFT collection. You cannot buy these anywhere. You can only find them in these EOS Holiday mystery boxes. There's a snow derp out there. There's a Krampus. So there's some art from some artists like Byron, Shufan, and Lars. There's a big bearded Santa that was wishing happy holidays to everyone. What else did we have in there? We had some pure EOS airdrops. We had some Pomelo checks, which is kind of like an EOS airdrop, but that you can only donate 2 approved grants from season 4. So another, tip of the hat to our grant owners from season 4. We always like to reward them as much as possible. And so expect more promos like this in the coming months. Our next one up that we're doing is for the Lunar New Year, kind of celebrating the Asian holiday that is upcoming. We'll have a new EOS personality released, as part of this series. We'll have some new NFTs as well that highlight kind of the Chinese and Korean traditions around New Year. So we're having lots of fun, using all of the tools available to us on EOS to build these promos. First off, big shout out to bountyblok for their social contest tool, which are being utilized for these contests. Shout out to bountyblok for their airdrop tool, of course, which is also used to distribute prizes. We're of course leveraging Atomic Hub Marketplace and for transfers. And so we're having fun with that. Hope you guys are enjoying those promotions and having fun collecting these new NFTs. Best one looking yet. Which one is that, Tony? He's saying he's got the best looking yet. Drew Block got a snow dirt, maybe. My favorite is the Krampus by Lars. I didn't even know Krampus was a thing actually before we built this promo. And then Martin was saying there's the friendly Santa and there's the evil Santa. I was like, what do you mean there's an evil Santa? There you go, Krampus in the chat, Recept sharing it. Apparently in Europe, if you're a bad kid, not only does nice Santa not visit you, but bad Santa comes and kidnaps you. Kind of intense. Thankfully in Canada we're a bit more mellow with our Santa traditions. Anyways, so I hope you guys are enjoying that. Look forward to more of that type of stuff in the new year.
On top of that, so a big reason we've been working with .gems on this is really dog fooding the technology that already exists on EOS. So really showcasing how these tools can be leveraged to engage communities in contests. Ideally, we'll see other entities leveraging the same tools. They're already available to everyone already. It's just they're not being used because maybe people don't know about them. So hopefully pay attention. Like Steph said, we'll be doing a big contest for the Lunar New Year again. And the bountyblok tool and the NFT drop tool are absolutely awesome. But we're going to continue dog fooding all of this stuff, get better integrations into Discord, get future NFTs, future blends. So instead of just blending like pop tokens to create a raffle ticket, maybe you can blend other things to do something else. Other plans to do physical items that you could redeem an NFT for to get like an EOS hoodie, for example. Like these are all cool engagement tools that we're going to be leveraging throughout 2023. So if you have a project or you manage a community, definitely be paying attention. And if you need pointed in the right direction, you can always reach out to Steph.
Yeah, for sure. So the bountyblok tools are not open to anyone who just signs up an account. They do need to approve you to use the tools. But if you're a member of the community, you've got a legit project, they're going to approve you. It's just these tools are so powerful, they can be used to spam accounts and just drop terrible NFTs nobody wants, stuff like that. So they do have to restrict a tiny bit where you can go out, you can create an account, and then you request access to the tools. If for some reason you're requesting access, you're not getting it, reach out to me, and I can ping the bountyblok tool for you guys. But yeah, the contest tool is super powerful. You can do all sorts of things. For example, for this contest, you have to sign in with your Twitter account, sign in with your Discord account. So you need those 2 unique accounts. And then we had a trivia question, we had a retweet, all these kinds of things you can program into your social contest. And there's a lot more options than just those. Those are the ones that we decided to utilize for that contest. For the Lunar New Year contest, Twitter and Discord is not necessarily easily accessible for the Chinese community, for the Korean community. So we're using the Typeform option via those bounty block tools, which is we'll be asking survey questions. So in order to participate in these upcoming contests, you're going to be filling out a survey. As always, we're going to be, promoting these contests equally in Chinese, Korean, and English. So whichever language you are, you can kind of fill out and participate in these contests. Through those contests, you don't need to try to participate in all 3 contests to get 3 times the prizes. That's not how it works. It's going to show up in my data, and I'm not going to send you 3 prizes. So you just need to participate in one of these contests. There's probably going to be 2 of them leading up to the Lunar New Year. So check that out. There we go. We got some people sharing some of these new NFTs. Tony sharing the Shufan Greetings NFT. We've got the Big Beard Samurai. We've got a 25 EOS Pomelo check. And actually, there was actually a lot of EOS up for grabs in this promotion. So there was, I think it was 1,500 EOS that was given away via these Pomelo checks. So that's a giveaway, but you may not be able to keep them if you don't have an approved grant on Pomelo. Hint, hint, maybe make some for next season. And there was these airdrop NFTs as well that Max Show shared, which can just be redeemed by sending, either your airdrop NFT to the redeem.gems address, or doing the same thing with your Pomelo check and adding the grant name in the memo field. So Atomic Hub is actually discontinuing the ability to back NFTs with EOS, which is what we wanted to do in the first place for this contest, for the airdrop NFT. They have to do that for regulatory reasons. They want to be on the safe side, blah, blah, blah. So we can't do backed NFTs anymore. So that's why we came up with our redeem.gems smart contract, where we're going to be able to still do NFTs that give you an airdrop. There's just an extra step. You need just send it to that address first. All right. Yeah, Krampus, it's an amazing pick. Absolutely. Definitely epic art there that was done by Lars for the contest. So shout out to Lars, shout out to Byron for the snow derp, and shout out to Shufan for the nice greetings NFT. All right. Yeah, and if you guys have a Krampus, put it up on the market. I need to buy one, and there's none available right now. So don't be too greedy, but I'm definitely gonna be willing to spend a couple EOS to get myself a Krampus in my collection. There's actually, yeah, what's that?
How many of them were minted?
Yeah, exactly. So there's about 17 of these EOS fine art NFTs that were minted. So 17 Snow Derp, 17 Krampus, 17 of the Shufan NFTs. There is 50 total of the supply. So there's still extra prizes to be given out. So check your EOS accounts. Those of you who have participated in the contest, maybe you'll get an extra bonus. But we'll be handing them out in the future. The Big Beard Santa is the first in the new series of what we'll call the EOS Hotshots, where we'll be featuring various community members and making cute, fun NFTs out of them. This is an uncommon version, so uncommons will have 100 mints. There's going to be common versions of these characters. There's going to be rare versions of these characters. Commons will have like 500. The rares will have 21, stuff like that. So by participating in these promos, you'll have a chance at winning, all sorts of these NFTs over time, as a fun way to, give more hat tips to our favorite community members in EOS. Yeah, so we've been having a lot of fun with this promo. Hope you guys enjoyed participating in it, and there's still going to be more EOS airdropped in these future promos. So there's a lot of value for the people who participated. I had estimated, maybe around 100 entries per week. There was a bit less than that, so we have a bit of extra supply. So I gave out more 25 EOS Pomelo checks than anticipated, a few less 5 EOS checks. Anyways, so yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoy that and you participate in our upcoming promos. Oh, nice. Jason EOS sharing a Byron rendition of his cat. That's great. Byron did a zombie version of myself actually at one point a few years ago. Had that as my profile for a while. All right. Next topic before we get to the big topic. Quick shout out to the Architects of Consensus series. I don't know, Brendan, are you online? Maybe Brendan can talk about this. He's not here.
I'm here. I don't know if I'm.
Vlad is here. Oh, Brendan's here. Vlad is here. Go for it, guys. Oh no, Vlad's not here. This is a different Vlad.
Am I audible?
Lovejoy, you are audible. Yes. Welcome to the Fireside.
Thanks. Yeah, this is the continuation of the series. Kind of long overdue third installment with Vlad. Always a pleasure to interview the awesome engineers, the ENF, and looking forward to continuing it. My goal is to make all the engineers in EOS more famous than the Apollo astronauts by the time I'm done. So you guys got to help me by spreading the word far and wide about the amazingly talented people we have working on the
Maybe we'll
network.
make NFTs out of some of them.
Heck yeah. And Vlad is pretty humble, but I learned some things. If y'all haven't read this interview, it's definitely worth a read. And like, for instance, he helped with the project that first sequenced the human genome. I mean, how many blockchains have engineers that help sequence the human genome? Wild. So
yeah, that's cool. What else? I haven't had a chance to read the article yet. Are there any other little tidbits or highlights or clickbait material you can share about this article? Putting you on the spot a bit here.
Yeah, there's a lot of good little gems in this one. I just would encourage people to read it. I don't know if I want to give away all the good bits. Otherwise, it's like spoiler alert. I don't want to.
Fair enough.
I don't want to take away the payoff for reading it. It's not that it's clocked in at the shortest of the architects so far with like 3,700 words. So it's not a 30-minute read. It's more like a 17-minute read.
There you go. There you go. I'll add that to my list of things to do after the Eden election stops eating up all my time.
Good plan.
All right, and there it is. That's the transition into the Eden election topic.
I just sent you a message. I think Rhett is on from Zaisan. Wanted to give an update.
Okay, great.
I can't see the members list though. I'm like messaging people in the background. I'm on my phone. Is Rhett on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rhett is on. He said hi. He said hi at the start of the show. We'll give him a minute here to come back and jump on the mic.
It's always so difficult. All these different UIs. Incredible. Where's this mute button here? Thank you. Well, everybody, Happy New Year. Hope 2023 is much better than 2022. So, yeah, what do you guys wanna hear? Shall I? Did ENF already? I have a few days off at the moment. Did ENF release the documents that we shared with them, or is that Zack? Is that in the works? Is that coming or?
No, they were not released. I don't know where Zack is.
Julie, our event marketing manager, was on PTO for the holidays. So we do still want to publish it, but we need to edit out certain things for the public version. But the statistics were awesome. I think you went over them last time, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I went through it a little bit.
it's just hard to go over numbers and not be able to
we need to
visualize
see
them.
these
Yeah.
numbers, not hear
Yeah,
them.
that was the discussion last time, that I just rattled a lot of statistics, and basically the feedback was, can you share it? So, but it's a little bit not up to us, I think, as Zaisan, to share it. And I think it could go through the ENF channels. So a little bit of the update. We're currently planning the calendar for this year. We will do a lot more, about 15 events where we do attendance only. We have a pretty large team in multiple countries, so that is very easy for us to do. And we have seen that outreach on those events, on the trade shows, is very effective. So anybody that has a project, anybody that has a wallet, anybody that is a centralized or a decentralized exchange, sometimes they have a booth on those events, and in many cases they know about EOS, because these guys are from the blockchain space, crypto space, so they typically know us from a few years back, but they haven't embraced the technology, and they need some help sometimes, or they just want to learn where the whole community is, where the tech stack is, etc., etc., etc. For all the events that we are participating or have been participating in the last year, if it was a little bit slow on the show, we did outbound work. So the employees that were on the booth, they walked around the show, reached out to everybody to talk about what's going on in our community, what's going on with Antelope, what's going on with EOS. Same story, very, very successful with that. So that's what we've been planning right now. We have, like I said, 1,500, 1,700 if I include London, the last event. New contacts in the database. Everything is in HubSpot. If you know what it is, it's a CRM tool, and you can assign contact persons to it, and then so it's marketing qualified lead, sale qualified lead. That structure is fully operational, and we try to engage with these contacts in all kinds of shapes and forms. Call them, email them, organize presentations for them. There's about 24. So the big ones are projects that we try to develop and see where we can have the business land in the reseller networks. And the other part are basically partners. So there's 24 companies that want to be educated on Antelope stacks to see what they can do. Of course, these sort of companies, let's say you had the big consulting firms, if you have a Deloitte or Ernst & Young wanting to know more about EOS, they also want to do that because they want to launch private chains or have applications be multi-chain, or maybe they have a project that's failed on another chain and they want to migrate it. So there's all kinds of conversations going on right now. What I really want to give back to the community is that the feedback is really, really awesome. People that know EOS are so happy that we're back. People that never heard of us are like amazed. Why didn't I hear anything about this? This technology is amazing. If this is really true, why nobody knows about this? So it's really, I would say, heartwarming that there's so much positive feedback. So that's what I think I want to share at the moment. And I think in the next years, I've programmed the Fire Chat every week in my agenda, so I'll show up if I can and talk about and share some more details as they progress this year. So back to you.
All right, thank you, Rhett, for this great update, and love to hear that you've penciled in this time slot for the rest of the year. Encourage everyone else here to do the same.
And this is Patty. I don't know if you guys can hear me, if my audio is on.
Yeah, you're good. Hey, Patty.
Oh, thanks. So just a shout out to the Zaisan team. I think I mentioned this when they kicked off the planning, coming into August, rolling up our sleeves and getting into the events and execution of that, setting up the database. So 1,200 plus people that have raised their hands actively is a great start coming into this year. So as he mentioned, there is a lot ahead of us in terms of not just for events, but how do we scale and reach more people outside of the events, and then also just working with the projects in the community. So when we look forward to our event activation, one of the big learnings we had is really engaging some of those local community members to come out and be part of the program and doing that in a more proactive way. So be on the lookout for that. We will publish the report, I would say, in the next week or so. There's not much that will change from that. But then the size and end of year summary, so you'll have some good data there. But then also we'll publish the events that are on the radar for us, and we'll have that available. Ones that we'll as we commit to them, we'll let you know. So look forward to meeting some of you there. That's it. Just to add to Rhett's update.
In case anyone didn't know, Patty is the Chief Marketing Officer for the NF. I should have mentioned that before her speech, but figure we'll do it after. But
Sorry,
thanks for
introduce yourself. Thank you.
yeah, thanks for joining us, Patty. Hope you join us on other firesides as well.
Will do. Yeah.
All right. So mic is open. I'm gonna take a little break here. Open a Red Bull, actually. Get some more energy.
Not allowed to
for
take
this.
a break.
No breaks. Okay, just let me step away for a drink real quickly. I'll be right back to talk Eden with all of you. Gabriel, Jason, EOS, Chase, you guys are server muted because your mics were on in the background. So if you want to fix that, I can unmute you guys. All of your mics are still on. I'm going to remute you. All right, so have you guys been checking out the number of people in the election so far? It's had a decent increase in the last couple of days. We're up to almost 100 members participating in the election on Saturday. So reminder, you need to register for the election to participate. Just being an Eden member isn't enough. You need to actually go to the website here. I'm going to share it in the chat. Click that I want to participate blue button and indicate that you want to participate. You need to do that 24 hours before the election. So the election is Saturday morning, so you need to be registered by Friday morning. We're up to 96. Let's get to 100 during this fireside. I'm sure there's 4 of you here out of the 59 people hanging out with us right now on Discord, on top of everyone else watching on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. I'm sure we can get 4 more people. So if you haven't signed up officially on chain and you plan on participating, let's go do that right now. Okay, let's see some number ones in the chat if you plan on participating in the election. 0 if you don't plan on participating. 2 if you plan on trying to get elected as either a delegate or chief delegate. Here we go. We got some ones, but maybe these ones were too early before I told them to potentially put 2. I'm going to be trying to get elected. I'm still not sure what my platform is going to be. Got a bunch of ideas. Some are very fun ideas. Some are other types of ideas. We'll see. We'll see what I end up settling on.
There are types.
Types of platforms. Yeah, types of election pitches. Beer. What? Sorry. What'd you say, Nathan?
You said other types. It was very enticing.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just gonna leave it there, and you guys are just gonna have to find out on election day, I guess, what type of pitch I end up going with. I got a few zeros in the chat. If you're not planning on participating and you want to share why, there's plenty of good reasons why people not participate. A big one is people don't want to put their face, associated to a blockchain account. Very reasonable reason why not to participate. But if you got other reasons, share them in the chat. If you're potentially planning on trying to get elected and you've got a platform, share. You can share that text in the chat. Why not use this Fireside to pitch? Do a rehearsal for your pitch. Jump on, say what you're presenting, what you'd be running on for election. Share a link to maybe to a blog post or whatever. I'm personally looking to read more pitches and more platforms so that I can kind of pick and choose which elements I like the most from all of these platforms that are going to be shared in the next couple of days in order to build my own. Mauro, welcome to the Fireside. Not sure if you're intentionally joining or not, but welcome either way. Anyways. I'm going to mute you, Mauro, because I think we only hear your car.
Rhett, quick question about the Eden DAO, if that's fine. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, don't be sorry.
Right, I was wondering, so the way, like, I'm still kind of like learning everything in the past week since I kind of started branching out, looking into the EOS community. So with Eden, the idea, like, correct me if I'm wrong, the idea is like you have stages and there's like 4 or 5 people, and between them they decide on like a person to go up. Is that how it works?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the gist of it. Called the
so
political playoffs or upvote elections is a new name I've seen around. I think I like that even more. And the key, the magic sauce of Eden is that these random groups of Eden members get thrown in a room together, and then they have to come to consensus on who they want to elect to represent that small group of people. And you need at least more than 2/3 of the voters to agree in order for anyone of that room to be elected a level 1 delegate. So if there's 4 people in a room, you would need 3 of the 4 people voting on chain for that same person in order to have that person become a level 1 delegate and kind of represent that room in the Eden community. That level 1 delegate will receive resources from the treasury of Eden in order to spend on accomplishing whatever election promises they made. Anyone else wants to add more flavor to the description of Eden, please jump right in.
So, but a quick question then. So then what happens if there isn't a consensus? Do they all not go up then?
That's
like,
right.
There's no one that goes up. So like they have a
That's
deadline
right.
to reach consensus, and if it doesn't happen, no one gets chosen.
That's right. And then the treasury that was kind of reserved for that group gets redistributed to all the other groups that were able to reach consensus. So it's like
the incentive.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a reverse prisoner's dilemma, or I don't know, probably not. But yeah, there's definitely incentive for people to reach consensus in these rooms. And it creates a very, very interesting dynamic. I've participated in most of the elections before, and what I've enjoyed the most actually is just getting to chat, video chat with some of the EOS community members that I've seen in the chats on social media, but never actually talked to over voice or seen their face. And then so that's been really enjoyable. I've built stronger relationships with a bunch of EOS community members that I happen to meet in these rooms. So I think for that, it's actually very, very powerful. For that reason, building better relationships among a group of a community where I would have probably never gotten on a video call with that other person if it wasn't for this random luck of the draw type of system.
That answers my question.
Jason EOS is wondering why people are writing numbers in the chat. So I'm asking people if you don't plan on participating in an election, you can write a 0. If you plan on participating and just voting, you can write a 1. And then if you plan on participating and trying to get elected, put a 2 in the chat so we kind of get an idea. And we got people putting some 3s out there. Not too sure what these people are trying to accomplish, but looking forward to seeing it in action on January 7th on Saturday. Man asks a good question. Is there an official place where members are posting their platform's ideas? So there is a Eden members only Telegram channel that people have been sharing some of their ideas there. There's the Eden on EOS Telegram channel, which is open to the public. There's a blog platform that apparently Eden members can post their platforms too. I tried to submit mine. I don't think it's been accepted yet, although I haven't had a chance to check my messages today. Granted, it was only like 10 words, but it really, really reflected the essence of my pitch, which is don't let Block One fuck us over again. But maybe, anyways. Yeah, please, guys, jump in. Come on. You guys bombarded my phone with thousands of messages over the holidays, and we only have Djstrikanova coming in and helping me with the show. I think I'm gonna go on strike here.
I just wanted to say I love your platform. I don't think you should change it.
Thanks, Winfred.
I guess more Eden questions. So then the bubble up process creates these chief delegates, and then they get I think it goes on 15% of the treasury, and they can do whatever they need to do for their platform.
Exactly. So then all the level 1 delegates that get elected then do the process again, randomly, distributed in rooms with other level 1 delegates, and then they come to consensus on who's going to be the level 2 delegate, which in this case, with the amount of members likely attending the election, it's probably just going to be level 1 delegates, and then level 2 is the final level, which are called the chief delegates. And these chief delegates get even more funding, from the treasury compared to the level 1 delegates. In total, there's 15% of the treasury that is allocated across all delegates per month, I think, or per term. No, per month. So the chief delegates, the higher levels get more. What?
It's 11%. They were able to reduce it a week ago. It's fine.
They reduced it for us
to 11%. Yeah.
Man, you guys are lucky. I don't have my sound effects right now.
So then the level 1 delegates, they get something too.
Yes. I'm not sure on the math. Probably someone has done the math for the upcoming election.
So both levels get the same amount of funding. I don't know what it is. I don't have it in front of me off the top of my head. But let's say the level 1 delegates are splitting 8,000 EOS amongst 4 people. And I'm just making these numbers up. That means they're getting 2,000 EOS each. But then level 1 also gets 8,000 EOS, but it might be split up across, let's say, 20 people. So it's still 8,000 EOS at that level, but it's getting spread out across more people. And also they stack, because if you make it to the final table, that means you're also a layer 1. So you would get you would get revenue from both of them.
I see.
So then the level 1s also because they won on the platform, they try to do what they can too. They just have less of a budget.
Yeah, exactly. And as a level 1 delegate, you can, use the money to pay yourself a salary to work on a project, that you think will benefit EOS. Or you can say, you know what, I'm going to support Steph's platform. And if I'm elected, I'm going to give my money to Steph's platform. And Steph is going to be investing in these projects or investing the money to accomplish these goals or whatever. So you can use it for yourself. You can use it to support another delegate. A lot of people are using these funds to then support a Pomelo grant. So Pomelo is another fundraising mechanism available on EOS through quadratic funding. So donations are matched with a matching pool. So a lot of people will, earn some funding from Eden, and then donate that funding to a Pomelo grant, which kind of multiplies again that funding. So those are kind of popular platforms that people have been running on. But really, there's no
A
there's no
platform could
rules.
just be a developer saying, "Hey, I'd like some funds to build stuff," and he persuades his group. He gets it. At least some of it.
Exactly. So like Luca, for example, I don't know if Luca's in the chat. He's an Eden member. He was elected previously in elections, and he built the Upvote Telegram bot, which helps facilitate Eden elections. So that was his platform. He got elected. He made some money from Eden. He used it to pay his salary or his team's salary. I don't know exactly. He also pitched that same product on Pomelo, was able to raise some funds there, and through these two platforms has been able to build out a bot that may be used for this election. I'm not too sure. I was talking with him about that last week. That's just one example. All right, let's chatter in the chat.
I did have other questions about Pomelo as well. I don't know if I want to change the discussion.
Let's get into it.
Right. So see, unfortunately, the season ended right before I really started getting interested in it, so I can't vote on anything, or rather, to contribute the EOS to the cool dApps that I'm into. And I also kind of, with Effect Network, we kind of have, or I've been pushing the team to apply for a grant, and I don't know if this is like the right place to pitch like the general idea I had.
Sure, why not? During the Pomelo seasons, we host pitch sessions, where anyone who has a grant that's approved as a public good can come on these pitch sessions and kind of pitch their grant. But if you want to ask,
I would love to hear what you're building.
Yes, there you go.
Right. So I guess it's a question like a public good, because I'm thinking open source software is a public good, right? So with Effect Network, we had a hackathon like the beginning of the year, and we basically as a DAO voted for our favorite projects. And like the idea I had is, what if like we could have like more hackathons with that'd be like a grant that people can contribute to. Then with that, other members of the EOS community like you, or I guess any other like high Eden chief delegates could be interested as being judges and stuff like that. And the idea would be using our Effect SDK, which is like that NPM module I mentioned earlier, to build dApps that use the workforce. That's like the general idea. Because I haven't really seen like a hackathon. Like I've seen small like projects in there, but I don't know if a hackathon is something that is like pay with the rules and stuff like that.
Maybe Daniel. Yes, there we go. Daniel,
Yeah,
please unmute his mic. Here we go.
I can chime in a little here. Yeah, thank you. So the devil is always in the details. It's hard to, rule one way, is this a public good or not? With a high level distribution, it always comes down to read the proposal and see what all the details are. The key though is that it is a public good. So you're right in identifying, for example, open source software as a public good. So if, for example, your proposal was, I'm building an open source hackathon software that enables anybody to easily create a hackathon using this software, that's something that would probably qualify as a public good and be able to be approved for Pomelo. If, however, maybe your pitch is something more like, I'm going to raise funds through Pomelo and I'm going to put that into my prize pool for my hackathon, in that case, that's not a public good because you only have such, there's only a limit to how big your prize pool can be. There's only a limit to how many people can participate in your hackathon. So that's rivalrous. Not everybody has equal access to be able to access that prize pool. So something like that would probably be denied to participate. So yeah, you can't use Pomelo to raise funds to create a prize pool for whatever, whether it's a DAO, whether it's a hackathon, whether it's whatever. But you can use Pomelo to build the tools to help enable anybody to build something like a DAO or a hackathon. I don't know if that
Okay, I
helps.
see. So the problem is in the competitive nature of a hackathon.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. So the fact, so yeah, the definition of a public good that we follow is that it's non-rivalrous and non-exclusive. So non-exclusive just means it's free to use. Non-rivalrous means that by one person accessing it doesn't limit somebody else from accessing it. So a prize pool, again, maybe it's a free to attend hackathon, so that you check the non-exclusive box. But yeah, the rivalrous part, not everybody is able to get access to that prize pool. Only the winners of that hackathon get access to the prize pool. So that would mean a prize pool is not a public good. But again, there's a lot of work that needs to go into creating hackathons. Maybe there is a piece, a building block that you can get funding for that would qualify as a public good.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, glad that helped. And always, I encourage everybody who wants to participate in Pomelo. If you got a wild idea that you're not sure whether or not it qualifies, just go ahead and create a grant for it, and the Pomelo team can help you through that process. We've when a grant doesn't qualify as a public good, we stick it into an action required status. You should get an email with a little guidance on what is a public good, and we're always happy to work through it with you in the Telegram channel, in the Discord channel, even in direct messages between myself and people. I'm often helping people go through multiple drafts of their grant application. So when in doubt, just go ahead and submit it, and it's much easier to judge when it's laid out in an application. We can help you tweak it.
Yeah, let me
Yeah, I'll
share
let the
the
team know.
Telegram. Let me share the Telegram channel for Pomelo. That's where a lot of this type of discussion happens, and you don't need to wait for the season to be open and started. So season 5 is coming. The dates have not been announced yet, but it is coming. But that doesn't stop you from right now going into the Pomelo channel, asking questions. Hey, here's my idea. Is this a public good? Anything I need to tweak or whatever? I just share the channel here on the Discord chat. And yeah, love for you to be getting so involved with the Fireside and Pomelo and potentially Eden. Well done, Mr. Djstrikanova. Oh, Nathan James coming in, dropping some news. He might be putting up a grant next season. Come on now. Is that all you're going to say? We want to hear what you're building.
Next season.
Yeah, let's do it, Nathan.
Something I've actually been building for a couple years. I just don't have time to do it anymore, so I want to find a team to do it.
Nice.
Potentially.
All right. Well, thanks for the teaser. Looking forward to hearing more. Can someone confirm if the current delegates who received the big donation reduced the percentage, or did they propose a reduction of the percentage? Seems like people in the chat are not sure. Chris Barnes?
Yeah.
Dogman coming in.
I was asking that. I don't know. Oh, Chris is here, so he can answer that best. I thought that Chris was actually on the CT call. So if Chris could answer that, that would be very helpful because I don't know the answer. But From what I heard, although Lenny heard it differently, it was just proposed. Is that correct, Chris? Or
No, we agreed on the last call that we will be reducing it, so it'll be 11% before the next election.
okay, thank you for the clarification.
Wait, how does that work? The current CDs can reduce it for the next CDs?
Yeah, the current CDs can reduce it at any time. And it's not just for the CDs, it's for everyone.
I see. So the next CDs could increase it again.
No, you need to submit a proposal for the next set to increase it.
So I thought it had to have ratification by the next CDs as well.
Bylaws, the way they're written, whenever they increase it to 15, if you want to increase your pay, the rule is that you can't increase your own pay because then people could just say, I want all the money. But you can, so that's why it has to be a bylaw increase. But to decrease pay, the way they said it was that they could decrease pay in the middle of a season because you're essentially lowering your own pay.
Oh, I see. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, so the reasoning why you would want to lower the draw rate is because for the longevity. So at one point in time, there was a bylaw in terms of the mission of what Eden is. At one point, the original mission was set to be to create value for the EOS ecosystem. Then term 2 CDs added the line and to ensure the continuity of this organization. That ensuring the continuity of the organization includes that chief delegates assume some sort of responsibility for the fiscal side of things. So what's the runway for the treasury? How long will it actually hold out and support ongoing future terms of future level 1 delegates and chief delegates? So that mission statement has since been removed. We're back to just creating value for the EOS ecosystem, whatever. But some of us who are chief delegates still feel that it's important for us to be prudent with the use of the treasury. And 15% of a large number over the next 3 months is a lot of the treasury. It reduces it down to, within 1 year of 15% reduction rate, will be down to 65,000 EOS in the treasury. So that is not perceived to be prudent use of capital. So we're choosing 11% so that the next chief delegates basically receive the same amount as the current set of chief delegates. So there's no reduction to them in net. However, it does reduce the draw rate to create more opportunity for future terms, right? It's not just the next term of 3 months that we need to look out for. We want to look out for many more terms. And so we do that by reducing the draw rate so that way it can be extended over more time.
Another just quick question. So can you explain like more how the bylaws work for Eden?
Yeah, so the bylaws for Eden, it's a pretty unique thing actually. So you've heard this idea that things can be proposed, but then they need to be ratified. So the idea is about preventing incumbent advantage. So we often see in modern politics and democracy today, those who are in charge can change the rules to ensure there a greater probability of maintaining their position, to maintain their incumbency to be in charge. So the way Eden works is any set of sitting chief delegates, which are the highest, they're like a board basically for the Eden community, they can only propose changes to the bylaws. They aren't able to ratify them. So what that does is it creates a slight friction in the inability for incumbents to capture and say gerrymandering, right? Changing electoral districts, doing all these things that we see are done to maintain incumbency. So instead, chief delegates can only propose new bylaw changes, and it requires an election. New chief delegates are elected, hopefully running and very explicitly defining whether they would agree with the changes proposed to the bylaws or not. And then the next set of chief delegates can ratify those proposed bylaws to become the new set of bylaws. So that's so that churn creates an interesting dynamic. So one of the bylaws says that current chief delegates can reduce the amount of the distribution. And the way that distribution works, I don't think it, just to add clarity there, there's a treasury, it's the Eden on EOS treasury. And every month, 15% of that treasury currently, that percentage is 15%, is distributed to delegates. So you take that 15% a month and you divide it by 2. Half goes to the chief delegate pool, half goes to the level 1 delegate pool, and it gets broken out. So we're suggesting to reduce, well, we are going to reduce that to 11% of the treasury will be distributed per month to level 1 and chief delegates.
Thanks for the explanation.
Lewis asks an interesting question. Why ratify across new delegates and not just voting a percentage through the whole vetted community?
The whole Eden thing is a new way to do democracy and select leaders and representatives. I mean, that's really the fundamental piece that I think is really getting missed, right? So the whole thing was predicated on Dan's book, More Equal Animals, and it does a very good job of breaking down all the problems with democracy. Like, this is a solution to democracy, is a way to look at it. And so if you want to, we could go back to the traditional way of doing things where you have a poll and everyone in the community needs to weigh in and you get this kind of group consensus for every decision. And that's legacy system. That's how things generally work today. This isn't that. So instead, this is using this process to select individuals who are trusted by the community to achieve these positions to then have the ability to make decisions on behalf of the community. If we go back to needing to canvass the community for every decision, then why bother having an election in the first place? Let's just leave it so no one's in charge and we'll just have a bunch of polls be put up and people can vote, and that will then determine forward direction. But then you have the ability that people need, the whole issue of rational ignorance is a really important topic that comes up. It's very rational to be ignorant of the details of something like this. So we've heard that some people are going to be putting up they're going to campaign on what they're going to actually do in this coming election. And that's actually kind of pointless in the way rational ignorance works. Like, I shouldn't have to do any work in advance of the election. It's not worth the trouble to try to read all of these campaign promises and read these things in advance. I don't need to do that. I just show up in a room and I'm there with 3 or 4 other people, and I'm going to ask them questions pointedly right then and there and ask them, what do you feel about this? Do you approve of bylaws? What do you think Eden is? Is it a worker proposal system or governance system or both? I don't need to care about every other delegates, potential members, and what they campaigned on because they're not in the room with me. I only care about who's in the room. So that idea of rational ignorance is really important. So if you start
Is
doing
that
collective
necessarily true though?
polls and you,
Because
pardon?
if let's say if you talk of 100 people, part of Eden DAO, there's the probability that one of them, going to be in that room with you. So I think there is appeal in going off your platform because it increases the probability that they are aware of it as soon as they are in the room with you.
I agree with that.
You can campaign all you want, but it's the expectation that everyone else needs to pay attention. That's all.
Yeah, campaigning prior doesn't mean you don't need to campaign during your call. Type of deal. But you may be able to convince people to proxy their vote to your campaign, right? If you explain your campaign ahead of time. Some of the reasons why I
How
campaign
long
ahead
is
of time.
the voting process?
Each room is roughly right now. It's limited by the free Zoom accounts. So there's no magic number to this other than Zoom makes it so, because that's the platform we're using for the video calls. Basically 1 hour per round. So the whole thing, if you wanted to show up and just be a participant, say you just want to dip your toe in the water, it's very encouraged for folks to become a member and just show up for that first round, which is maybe an hour and 20 minutes of your time. If you're looking to move on to further rounds, well, then basically each round multiply that. So if you're there for the full show, it's about 3.5 hours of time on Saturday. If you're there just to be a first round participant, just to vote for someone else in your room, then maybe an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes.
Is there any exploration to lower that amount of time or move it from a Saturday to a day which isn't as impeding to people with families?
Um, So in terms of the time, I mean, everything is customizable. Certainly, with Luca's upvote bot, it'll be a lot easier to have more flexibility on the time per round, only because it won't be predicated on Zoom anymore. It will use Telegram video. And in terms of a different day of the week, it's in the smart contract. So yeah, it can be edited. I think it's set now to be deliberately on a Saturday. It's deliberately set to accommodate North American time zone. Because this isn't, that's the other thing, right? Eden, it doesn't work for a global audience because the global clock doesn't work that way. Like, so in the end, there was always this intention of having multiple eating communities who would collaborate and come work together in some form or fashion. But there should be multiple Edens, each with their own language as needed, or certainly their own location to fit time zones, and maybe different days of the week. To your point.
So then, for bylaws you change, do you need like a majority of the chief delegates to do it?
Exactly. You need a supermajority, 2/3 plus one of chief delegates. So far, we've had the first election had 6 chief delegates. Then we've seen 4, and we've seen 5. So the percentage is always 67% or greater, but the actual vote count varies. And that's all in the bylaws. So the bylaws do specify the general essence of the election itself and how chief delegates are able to make changes. So, for example, there's one other rule that's in there that says the proposed bylaws are indivisible. So the next set of chief delegates can't take the list of 10 changes and say, "Oh, we'll take that one, but not that one, and we'll take this one and not this one." They have to kind of it's all or none as it's defined right now, which has its problems. That certainly does. It adds this idea
What
that
are
you
the
need to be really cautious.
benefits? What are the benefits of that? For me, like I haven't thought deeply on this issue, but I would think I would prefer like a list and people vote on each item of this list. Because like for the current bylaws, if I agree with 4 out of the 5 proposed changes, but there's one change I don't agree with, I can't ratify all those changes. You know,
Yep, it's a super good
An
point.
exercise of consensus building. You can't put anything too radical in there, or else you risk all of your non-radical proposals to not go through.
Right. But
Yeah,
why not
this came up.
throw a shot at a radical proposal? Yeah, I guess I see the logic there. Because you
There's
don't want
I
to
think
throw a
there's
shot at a radical proposal in the off chance that some radicals get elected to CDs, then they can accept that. Yeah,
well, there are
I
other
guess that makes sense.
considerations too, like um, a set of bylaws, for instance, could come out as a package deal, which they are intended to be, but there could be dependencies between bylaws. So if the subsequent chief delegates removed um, one of the proposed bylaws and left the others in, it could effectively create a situation where you have like a irrational outcome, essentially, like not what the initial creators of the bylaws intended. So it's like that's not always going to be the case that they depend on one another or that there are any dependencies, but that is one possible situation and why one reason why you can't do them piecemeal. You have to do them all or nothing.
Yeah, this Lovejoy's he's bang on because this came up the very first set of chief delegates. When Eden was first formed, it was understood that Dan would be the one making the bylaws, and then it turned out he wasn't going to do that. So it came upon that first set of chief delegates, and that question about why does this have to be one indivisible set of bylaws came up. And to Lovejoy's point, I think it's better. Yes, there can be dependencies, so we need to be aware of that. But perhaps the proposers can just propose them in blocks. So instead of saying, these are all the changes, take it or leave it, it's like, here's a set of changes. They are dependent on each other. Therefore, it's one thing. Like you accept that block of changes. And then you can separate them out in blocks where you can make sure there isn't any dependencies. So I'm with you, Stephane, that it is kind of annoying that it's all or none. But anyway, that's currently in the bylaws, so that's where we are. So that could be changed. A set of chief delegates to say they're going to remove that line, put that forward as part of their proposed changes, have it ratified, and then poof, that rule no longer applies.
I mean, I
Yeah,
like
I
it.
guess
I think it's like a kind of conservative approach, which is so unlike me. But on the other hand, it prevents things from moving too quickly. It kind of forces like a more prolonged process of consensus, I think. But
more optimal for the long-term
yeah,
conversation strategists. Um, yeah, maybe blocks. I like the idea of blocks. Obviously, you can't have an unlimited amount of blocks because then it's just like proposing line items. But maybe 2 blocks, maybe or 3 blocks. I think I would approve that if I was to become CD.
I think the other thing that Dan was trying to guard against is just bloat. Like, so where each set of chief delegates just proposes a new, like, oh, we need this bylaw, we need that bylaw, we need this bylaw. And then pretty soon you've just got all these laws, kind of like we do in the States and other places where nobody even knows what half the laws are anymore. Um, so by making them all kind of have to be together, um, I think it slows down like the multiplication of needless laws, but that's another conjecture,
that's a
I
good
guess.
point. That's a
Brandon,
good point for sure.
did you know you can't have intercourse in any position but missionary in Virginia?
Oh shit! No, I didn't.
What? Let's
Should
see
I
the
turn
one in the
myself in?
chats if you live in Virginia.
What if I wasn't technically a resident of Virginia at the time? Too much information? No.
Sounds like you're going to jail, Brandon.
Those Virginia cops are coming to Minnesota now. You can hear the sirens.
It's worth noting for I'd be really curious, especially the new entrants into Eden. I mean, there's a few folks who have come in, for example, from the ENF. I'm sure they have some background information. There's a few other folks I think who have just come in fresh. I'd be really curious what their impressions are, just being exposed to the chat, and even here in this conversation, you hear, and this is to DJ Castronova, I think. Like, my sense is that Eden is very much, in its nascency of trying to figure out its own identity. And so for anyone who is interested, has joined, and will participate in the upcoming election, um, that friction it does exist. And to the extent that some folks may notice it, we'll see. And I'm curious like what the outcome will be in that sense. But that tension between it being sort of one type of system, a more of a WPS alternative to Pomelo, et cetera, versus a more sort of a governing system, still needs to be reconciled. And so I'm really glad that there's a lot more people joining and it'll kind of lend more voices and eyes and ears and lenses to this whole thing. I think we need that. But by no means I think anyone should be joining Eden and presuming it's something of a finished product. It's far from it.
An experiment in many ways, and it's on blockchain. So to me, taking a super conservative approach of not changing things too quickly doesn't really jive with my experience in the last 5 years of blockchain. Kind of go hard, go fast type of approach. But that's what's great about Eden. I guess we'll see what the political playoff process allows to rise to the top. See which philosophies are more aligned with more people.
Another Eden question. So with the bylaws having all these rules, how are they enforced?
Some of them are on chain, and a lot of them are just community willing to enforce them. I don't know. So yeah, it's hard, right? If it's not on chain, then where's the teeth?
I think you can kind of speak to dispute resolution too, which is something that's being currently developed. When Dan left this project, he left it very much in a entirely incomplete state, and so the members, CDs, et cetera, have been working to piece it together and adding these sort of like core functions in the system to make it work. And so, to your point, it's like if there's issues, if there's someone not upholding a bylaw, if there's dispute in the system, like how do you resolve that? And so a lot of that is currently being developed. So I don't know if that helps as well.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of interesting. I'm just gonna plug. So with Effect Network, the workers, there's like, for example, in Mechanical Turk, it's generally biased toward the requesters, and they can like say decide not to pay a worker like any money at all for kind of really arbitrary reasons, and the workers usually have no way to deal with that. And so like it's also like a similar question of dispute resolution, or how do we know who to side with if someone says someone didn't do things properly? So yeah, I think kind of cool that our DAO is also kind of like evolving as well to deal with this. So just kind of a tangent to the idea of dispute resolution there.
So in effect, now the workers do the work before getting paid.
So with Effect Network, you can just sign up to well, if you can go to effect.network and you can load up the app from there and sign in with an EOS wallet or Binance Margin wallet, and then you can jump right to work. But the EFX after it can be held in escrow for a few days, though right now it just gets paid. But the idea is eventually there may be cases where we need to settle a dispute where a requester is not satisfied with some work, and the worker believes they did enough work. And so to affect that, the goal is we have to figure out a way how to settle these disputes because a lot of the work is done on chain, like all the completed requests are shown on IPFS. It's pretty easy to tell right now. Like you can just look at it and say, "Hey, the work's right there. What are you doing?" You can't just force a refund there. So, but it's still like a work in progress.
Yeah, I think dispute resolution going to be tested a bit more in the coming cycle. And in terms of, there's some unwritten rules, there's some written rules. In my opinion, if the rules are not written on chain and they're not enforceable on chain, we shouldn't assume that people will follow those rules, especially if there's significant monetary or other, rewards at the end of these Eden elections.
Most of the Eden bylaws are on chain. That's why they're pretty simple. Also, so this is why there isn't really much there that's open to subjective interpretation. There is the new recently added dispute resolution process, and because it's difficult to codify such a thing, especially because it's a new process and we haven't tested it, there is this kind of give and take on the ability to want to experiment with something before you hard code it, because as any of the engineers in the room will know, that takes a lot of work. And once you've gotten something coded and it's running, last thing you want to do is realize, oh wait, there's a major hole in this process. Let's go back and fix it. So there's that where the process is clear, it's there. We haven't really tested it. There's been no reason to kick a member out yet, because that's the purpose of these dispute resolution as it stands right now, is member removal. So I mean, yeah, a lot of it's.
Was there not one member that had not turned on his camera during the election, and then someone wanted to test out that process and kick out that member? Did that ever go through?
Yep. It didn't go through the process because that member who didn't turn their camera on responded to the query of the potential plaintiff and to specific, why didn't you turn your camera on? And he responded saying, I believe just basically had issues, technical issues, and maybe he won't do it again. I don't know. So it's up to someone's got to be willing to put forward the claim. And I am currently in the role delegated by the chief delegates to lead the process. I don't have any decision making. I just help facilitate. So anyone here, if you want to remove an Eden member and you're an Eden member currently, you just let the community know in the chat, and I'll help guide you through what you need to provide. And in the end, the way that would work
F.
is
and then it costs $125, right? Is that it? You put up a bond before you can request. I know I read a few things about it. I'm sure a lot of people in this chat are not familiar with that new process. Maybe you want to give a quick overview of what's proposed.
Yeah, basically, if you want to kick someone out, you put up a bond of $125 or collateral, we can call it, worth of EOS, and that gets held in an account that I'm pretty sure I would just have the keys to. So you have to trust me with this. So buyer beware, I guess. And then what you do is then you put forward all the information and it's listed out in the process of what information is required. And then there's a public hearing. Level 1 delegates. This is where it gets hard, right? Eden is such a cluster of intention that there's one school of thought says you can't encumber any delegate with any additional responsibility other than spending their funds. That is it. This is just purely a worker proposal system. Don't expect anything from chief delegates or level 1 delegates other than spending their funds as they said they would. I mean, that is the base purpose of this whole thing. However, some of us are thinking, well, what about governance and blah, blah, blah. So one of the things that we're requesting, but it's voluntary, is that the level 1 delegates get randomized, and basically the top 5, you just pick 5 random level 1 delegates and they become jurors of this potential dispute. If some of those level 1 delegates don't want to participate, then I just go down the list until I have 5, right? It's supposed to be random 5 level 1 delegates. They become jurors. They would then arbitrate on the merit. Oh, and so then it gets put forward from a plaintiff. $125 bond is put up. Okay. Then the defendant gets notified. If they're an active participant, they would look at the nature of the claim and they would either decide for themselves, yeah, you're right. I suck. I'm just going to resign because I know I did it. I know I'm bad. I have nothing to fight for here. And so they leave. Or they might say, this is bullshit. I'm not guilty of this charge, whatever it might be. And I've got evidence and I'm going to fight this. So then they post another $125. So they basically put money where their mouth is in terms of willing to defend themselves. Now there's $250 in the collateral account. Now it goes to court, we'll call it. And the level one jurors now receive deliberation from both sides. And they are the ones who ultimately, like, there's no judge here. There's no lawyers. You're just defending yourself, essentially. You're representing yourself. And the level one jurors will come to a majority decision, so 3 or 5, to pick one or the other. And there's no, what they don't get to do is decide how to penalize. It's like one or the other, either kicked or you're not, based on the nature of the case. And what happens is then whoever wins the case, the plaintiff or the defendant, they get back their $125 worth of EOS, and the other $125 gets split between the jurors. They each get $25. So they're paid a little bit for their time. That's in essence the procedure. It's very bare bones. It's in the bylaws. Anyone's welcome to read it. It's about a page and a bit. Yeah, that's it.
Hey guys, this is Jesse with the Bees. I could speak to the individual that Steph had brought up about voting in the previous, or the one before this election and the one before that without their camera on. So he's part of the Bees and I reached out to him. He said that he's from China and he has issues with the VPN and connection issues turning on his camera. And I think that it's worth bringing up. I wanted to bring it up now because there's also this issue, or not an issue, but like a concept of having something in the bylaws that's explicit versus implicit. And one of the changes that we made in the bylaws is you must turn your camera on and speak at least once during the election. And like the thing is that like this didn't say it in the bylaw before. It may seem obvious, but it wasn't there. And so we're in the process. I think this BCDs, or like this current term, we're trying to like put in the bylaws what has been implicit and make it explicit. And I think this is just a good example of that.
Yeah, definitely support more explicit expectations on chain in the bylaws for sure.
Steph, did you lose your soundboard today? I haven't heard any sound.
Yes, I did.
No,
Me and
sad.
Very sad. Me and Dave over the holidays were trying to optimize my sound, get the quality higher, reduce the background noises. We got a really good result, but now it involves a virtual audio cable and all sorts of input outputs. And well, today when I was trying to load up my soundboard, it just did not work. But it will be back. Don't worry. I've been tempted to hum a bit.
Sorry.
No, go for it, Hernan. Welcome to the Fireside.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, when you guys are coming on to talk about Eden, maybe give a quick history of your track record in Eden. Like, hey, I've participated in a few elections and voted in round 1, or I've been elected level 1 or level 2, or I'm currently a chief delegate. Maybe just to give a bit more context to the people listening to this who may not be as familiar with everyone as the hardcore OGs in this chat are.
Yes, that's a great idea, I think. So, yeah, I've been involved in Eden since the beginning, like not on the first Genesis call, but ran on call number 2. So,
Yeah, your volume's better now, Rhett.
How's it now? Better?
Yeah, it's better. Yeah, good.
Awesome. So yeah, so I've been elected level 1 delegate. I haven't made it to chief delegate yet. On the current cycle, I'm not an elected delegate, but I'm still involved. I do love the idea of fractal governance. I think it has amazing potential. That's why I'm still involved, and I still want to see it forward. So yeah, so I want to just drop the question about this, the thing of having camera on and having like a real human being behind the camera. It was a great idea behind this kind of civil protection around Eden, but now with all the AI deep fakes and people that could essentially set up a non-existent human being to appear as real or indistinguishable. I think that is all to be I think redefined. So I think maybe we should start thinking of ways to make Eden like AI deepfake resistant. So that's just a thought I want to put out there. But
if you can do that, I have money to invest.
Well, I had a pretty funny idea. It's like, why don't you just, have like in-person captchas, like you say, hold up the peace sign and then, make a rock and then hold 3 fingers up, something like that. Like that way that would be very hard to fake.
Like a real human captcha. Well, listen, I fell for during the last bull run. I did fall for a pre-sale scam of a deep fake CEO announcing the pre-sale in a very convincing manner. And after that rug pull, that everyone was looking for that CEO, and it ended up being like a deep fake, non-existing human being, just stealing a brand new project. So I've seen it. So it's out there.
I don't really think a fake would prevent someone from doing a peace sign and a rock and all those things. I mean, I like the idea. We should keep coming up with ideas. I do think a benefit to the video, though, is at the very least we could prove that it happened after the fact. Like, for example, Intel just came out with this hardware level ability to look at blood flow patterns in the face to determine whether it's a real human in a deep fake. And I'm sure maybe even by the time someone's listening to this, some smart person has already come up with a way to use deep fakes to fake that. But at least if we record the video, then after the fact, we could prove that it happened.
Yeah, maybe.
And this is getting into the. Go ahead, Hernan.
No, go ahead. Yeah, so I just want to add maybe expanding on the user profile, or adding some kind of a minimum required about having like a Telegram, a Twitter, or a LinkedIn. I don't know if that would add some protection to that. But that's all Web 2, right? So.
I was just going to say that we're getting into kind of the ROM versus cracking debate, where for many, many years, CD makers and software makers tried to prevent people from burning CD-ROMs. And of course, hackers were just like, oh, this is fun. Let's figure this one out. And then a week later, they'd come out with some crack that cracked the anti-crack. So that seems to be what's going to happen with all of these deepfake versus anti-deepfake stuff. Maybe a different solution is just required.
Yeah, the core weakness is because you put your videos up, that's training data for the deepfakes. So if someone has sufficient videos up there, they're gonna be much more easy to deepfake. So I don't know.
And let's not even get into machine learning and learning about the best platforms that get upvoted for chief delegate, and having a deepfake being able to.
Drewblock already solved all of this for us in the comments, if you guys were following the voice chat. He says if an AI can convince a group of 5 other people to vote for it, maybe it deserves to be a delegate. There you go, solved.
I don't think deepfakes work anything close to real time. Like I've installed the software and did the training data on my computer with like a pretty great video card, and it still took hours to render the deep fake. So a bigger risk would be using like you could disguise yourself, so you can't create Cybele because you can't do. I guess you could do multiple deep fakes, but all I wanted to say is you can't do deep fakes in real time. That's impossible. It's not even close.
You can farm it out.
Hours.
You can farm it out though. You can farm it out to a horizontal scale data center. It would just cost you a lot of fucking money.
Yeah. I think a more realistic attack vector would be using.
It will be possible one day.
Of course, but how future-proof do you need to get? It's like a game of cat and mouse. Like it's just going to go back, and the pendulum's going to swing both ways.
So wait, but we brought up a different point before, that somebody without camera, but somebody with a bad connection. What does a bad connection look like to us on camera? It's a little bit pixelated, right? Doing pixelated stable diffusion isn't actually that intense because you aren't reaching the final, clarity of this. It's like way less intensive than doing those last few steps. So if you wanted to have some kind of pixelated deep fake, which looks like you're having bad connection problems, probably not an issue. The issue that would happen though is if you had like 50 of those, then people would be like, all right, dude, what's going on here, right? It's not possible everybody's on some satellite bad internet at the moment.
Yourself, man. Steph used to use mobile internet for a long time.
I would not have qualified a month ago. But I'm on fiber now. It's glorious.
I think if we have problems like this, we have bigger problems.
Yeah, very true.
So in regards to security, this is Jesse again with the bees. I think limiting inductions is the most practical way to achieve security. Like, for example, the CDs would have to approve an induction. And if we see a lot of induction requests from an attacker, perhaps, then limiting inductions, I think, is simple and effective, or could be simple and effective.
I like that idea, but I also don't like it because it just puts too much power in the hands of the CDs, and they might abuse it depending on the people being inducted and the person, that's inviting people.
So the people in charge get to decide if there's new competitors to them?
Yeah, not for that.
It's adding more things beyond what they campaigned for. So Chris mentioned earlier, one of the original ideas was to not attach too many strings to like what the responsibilities were of a CD when discussing like the dispute resolution, for example. So, and it doesn't scale. So limiting
not easy workaround. So there's an easy workaround. So if I have a limit of 3, I'll induct those 3 people, get them to induct the rest of the 3. So if that's a planned attack, that's a very simple workaround. So I don't have to induct them themselves. The ones that I inducted will induct the next one. So the limit won't really protect us against that. And to be practical, we actually need to be, I would set a minimum of inductions per member so that we grow, because I think that should be our focus if we want Eden to be actually, meaningful and kind of a successful experiment.
Yeah, more friction for onboarding new members. Definitely not what Eden needs right now, in my opinion.
No, exactly. It's
I agree with
already to schedule with 2 other people to be witnesses around the world with different schedules to get it on a Zoom at the same time to record, which is good because there's at least some minimum friction to not allow bots in. But at the same time, we should be able to motivate and kind of simplify the process so that we make it easy to grow the community.
There was a concept a couple of days ago in one of the Telegram chats. I can't remember who said it, but somebody said they'd rather have a small community of 50 engaged members versus a large community of 1,000 unengaged members, to which I agree with. However, if this particular Eden, for instance, Eden on EOS wants to become something which is a counterweight to stake weight, then I think looking from the outside in, it has to be larger than the small amount of members, because it seems centralized, right? So if the purpose is to become less centralized, then it should be less centralized, and limiting the amount of people that can come in limits the amount of decentralization that it can accomplish. Of those people who do come in, right now we can see it already. There was it was like 350 people who have never voted before, and then another 100 something people who have actually participated in the Eden process, which, if you haven't voted, I guess you really haven't participated in the Eden process. So right now we do have a large amount of people who have joined but haven't voted, which means that if you induct another 1,000 people by the same statistics that we have, only 20% of those people are going to actually participate. So we do need to have an ability to bring in more people in order to find the 20% of people who are going to be participating members.
Totally.
Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, I think it's I think we should separate the discussion between how do we see or envision Eden as a self-sustainable organism, a growing kind of thriving community, with the discussion around should Eden be involved in EOS governance, or should it have some weight on the decisions made on chain, which I think it has been the I think the crux of the latest discussion in the group, and I think those are valid discussions to have. But yeah, I don't know if you guys want to open that. It kind of warms up, but yeah, I think it's I think Eden does offer a different mechanism of giving voice to people. So I do think it's a valid voice to have on chain. That's my view of how Eden can participate. Of course, I don't think that Eden needs to represent a majority or needs to have a majority hold on the of the on-chain voting. But I do think it's a kind of an alternative view is always good if we want to have a decentralized network. That's what I think.
This is when the cricket sound effects should be playing. I'll just narrate the sound.
You're a robot.
You got the elevator music for there.
Hey,
Oh no, I'm robot.
Lovejoy.
Robot Lovejoy has entered the chat.
So can I also just respond? I do acknowledge all of the reasons why perhaps limiting inductions is not a good idea, but I just also want to point out that a lot of those ideas were in regards to a system that can help govern EOS versus a system that could authenticate users. And in some areas, like the one we're talking about, one idea could be good for one and bad for the other, and vice versa. And I've been thinking about this, and I think the more I think about it, the more I think it makes sense to potentially fork Eden for civil concerns only and have a different fork for governance concerns.
This particular instance, it's kind of bad for both.
I would definitely focus on having this current Eden kind of as solid as possible, and then kind of try to, because working it now, I think would be a bit premature, just because I think we don't have enough
Yeah, I'm not
Well,
talking about now. In the
yeah,
future.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a valid proposal.
So going back to what I've been saying in the Eden chat recently is that yes, this could be one way to do it. We don't even have to be particularly restraining on it. It just because it's just one mechanism. So you could say maybe there's a hard limit of 500 inductions every year or something like that, or every cycle, every 3 months, whatever it might be. But it has to come with other layers on top of it, right? Because all security is based on layers, and there has to be other things. It could be that you have to have a stake, right? And it doesn't have to be a high stake because again, you have other layers which are also protecting it. So we also don't want to prevent people from nations that simply can't afford a $500 stake because that's like the entire monthly salary. So you can lower that because there are, again, other layers. So the more layers that we can add to this actually allows us to reduce the impact of each individual layer on security as a whole, which then means we can do a lot more things at once. But the cost of doing those things also needs to be weighed because if, for instance, we have to start getting approvals, more approvals, let's say 25 or 50 approvals to induct a new member into Eden, that's a cost that is on every user. If we have to pay a committee to approve them, that's a cost which is on every user. If we have to have CDs approving them, that's a cost on every user because CDs have to spend their time doing other things as well. So we do have to weigh those things against each other and see what is the best possible outcome for all of this, and also then weigh it against the cost of attack, which is really the most important thing there.
I still super I was you said earlier that you did kind of run the numbers on what an attack would be right now. So that was super interesting. So how did you figure that out? How did you come up with those calculations?
There's actually a long thread about this on Telegram if you'd like, but the basics of it were that you would hire a bunch of people to go on camera and participate in the election and be basically sock puppets of one attacker, whether they're complicit or not. And at the current amount, well, at the previous amount of participation in voting, because the voting has gone up significantly this election, but the previous one, I think it had like 43 participants, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. So that means that you really only need about 100 more people to come in and participate in voting, because then you'd have a supermajority. And they would be able to.
And that would affect the voting even with the randomization of the groups.
Yeah, because the groups don't matter because they're also randomized into the groups. Yeah, this particular election is so the cost would go up by 3. So basically, if you want to take over this voting, you'd have to bring in another a lot more members than you would have previously. But the cost of the previous one was around $3,000 for participation across many months, and of course the time would be around 3 months. But these numbers change frequently. But even if this goes up to $1 million, $1 million is still significantly low for the amount of take that would be. This is all predicating. I don't really want to inject this into the chat, but this is all predicating into the Eden on EOS controlling the Eden proxy, which would then have it would then have the inflation given by the chain to be able to provide that back to stakers, which would then make it the de facto. So there's a lot of variables which create the ultimate storm here. And I don't really want to go into that tangent again because I think we'd really beat that horse ad nauseum.
Yeah, definitely.
But
my kind of ending argument for that is that I think if we remove that part of the inflation being routed to the proxy, I think
for sure, yeah, for sure.
having Eden having a say on governance makes sense. Whoever believes, whoever kind of aligns with what Eden thinks good BPs are would stake to it, and whoever doesn't stake.
Absolutely. So that without the inflation, without the quote unquote unfair advantage that one proxy would have, then it just becomes another proxy, which anybody who believes in the Eden governance model would then stake to, and that's wonderful. But it wouldn't, I don't think it would become the de facto proxy for EOS, which then means it's just another participant, and that is okay, right? Because you're right, that inflation aspect is really the damning aspect of that, because it means that it would likely become the de facto, therefore it would control the block producers which are in, and in DPoS, if you we vote for 30, so we can basically control the entire 21 set of producers.
Yeah, no, it's basically we're risking routing control the governance to one proxy, which is the same as centralizing the governance, which eliminates the whole purpose of why we're in EOS, right?
Right.
You
Back
would
to what you
think
mentioned
so,
earlier.
but apparently not.
I was just thinking, whole human participation, it kind of reminds me of proof of work, right? Because what you said is basically, what if someone, bought on like, a lot of hashing or like if you try to like fork any common crypto, you could easily be taken over by an attack because someone can just pay, for miners to mine for you, and then you have control of the network, right?
Right.
So then I guess it's the same with the size of Eden, right? Pay, 100 people to be your shills. I mean, that's not that expensive. Thousand gets more like it literally it's like proof of work. The more you have, the more secure it gets.
Well, that's exactly what I was saying the last time we had this fireside, was that if those perfect conditions happened, where there was a proxy that became the de facto proxy and controlled the majority stake of the network, basically controlled it controlled the ability to select all of the block producers in the top 21 set, then the cost of attacking the network was the cost of attacking Eden, and the cost of attacking Eden is not significantly high, or it's not high enough versus the significant take that you could acquire by attacking Eden. So that's really where the problem is. But if the cost of attacking Eden goes up to $500 million, that's no longer a problem, right?
And it'll probably be noticeable because I mean, it'll be hard to keep that secret. Like with 100 people, yeah, but like you need
Oh, it would happen over
100,000.
time. It's like any attack on a system, right? You don't necessarily know if a hacker's in the system or exactly what is compromised until the hacker makes either a mistaken judgment, or reveals themselves, and that's when you know that a hack has occurred. Because there's lots of occurrences where hackers are already in the system, or they've already infected, quote unquote infected, because this could be social infections, like they've become friends of, or boyfriends of, or girlfriends of the somebody who controls some key inside of a company, right? So you don't know exactly what's affected until it becomes a problem.
Yeah, I don't mean, I didn't know if this was going to just stay kind of like an ESP security debate or anything. I had questions for you, Nathan, but I also don't want to belabor this. Like you said, I'm sure a lot of people don't want to hear more about this. I'm just personally really
We can
interested
take
in
it to Telegram. I have to pee anyway, so I would love a break.
Yeah, all right,
Lol.
I'll hit you up there.
Do I still sound like a robot?
Take the Fireside to telephone, Nathan. Take us with take us with you.
Am I still a robot or no?
Love you, yes, you're an AI right now.
Damn it. Really?
It does sound kind of like a high robot, though.
Or you're
It's really slow.
you're stoned in the very kind of digital brand of some kind of digital green stuff.
I got some articles, the effect team I can post about like summaries for 2020. Is that fine? On the chat.
Sure. Yeah, post those up in the voice chat.
How about now? Am I still a robot?
You've conquered the AI. Love
No, you're
guys.
good. You're good.
Sweet. All right.
One more member to join the election, we get to 100. Are we really going to end the Fireside before crossing that milestone?
There's like 7 pending invites. We'll get there for sure.
I really would be curious to know statistics if we could track this going forward for when people register. I'm sure that there's some record of that in the system contract, because it's interesting to see like how many people join or like register for the election in the last 48 hours versus 8 weeks out.
Yeah.
Then we could predict likely turnout.
Well, it depends on the stakes of the election, right? If before the next election there's now a 5 million EOS donation to the treasury, you can bet your ass there's going to be a lot of last minute registers. But if the budget is lower than what it is now, probably, and no significant control on the governance of EOS through a proxy, then it's probably going to be lower turnout. Not as many last minute registrations.
So you're saying we should assign reputation based on people that show up no matter what the payout is?
Absolutely. There's so many awesome data points that we could extract from this. And it's very annoying to me, actually, that I can't really find it, like past election stats, an easy dashboard to see who's been running every time, who's been voting every time, how many times were they elected. All this amazing data that is out there on the blockchain somewhere, but I can't see it. And if someone's running on that platform, let me know. I'm going to add, some funding for that in my pitch for this year for sure.
Yeah, me too. Tools to see ourselves more clearly would be most welcome.
Yes. Who's going to build that?
If only we had some blockchain engineers in the Eden community.
Who in the what now? What happened? I was peeing.
Are you running for election, Nathan?
I haven't said that I would.
Okay, guess
you
you haven't said that you wouldn't. Are you okay? Hold on. Are you a member of Eden?
I do. Yes.
Okay. Are you registered for the election?
I do.
All right. At least we got those two, and we can make assumptions on the others. But I was saying,
is it hard to procure information for me? It seems
apparently it is. I'm asking you very direct questions, and you don't want to tell me the answer.
Well, the funny thing is that you wanted a recap on is what we were talking about when you were relieving yourself, is that it would be nice to have better information about, previous elections, who participated,
stats,
when they
graphs,
registered,
lines, all that stuff.
Didn't somebody just put an Excel document, an Excel sheet up in the members chat?
Yep, it's a start.
Is that yesterday's document? I'm looking for an updated version.
I mean, that just shows who participated in the last election, I think, and
we can't even know who's participating in this one. Really? Like, I can't see the list.
Too. Or what is
So
what are the levels like?
Last
what
one
is
in this
the
one.
reward for each level?
What is the reward for each level? How many levels do we have? How many people must register for the election for the next level to be reached? Come on.
We should create
some gamification.
Create a wish list of all the things we want to see so that someone would know what they need to build. We'll spec it out.
Yo, I'm allocating 25% of anything I make to this project for whoever wants to build that. Boom.
I'll put up 10%, 10% here. Yeah,
that
that'd
sounds
be super.
interesting. Like basically a platform where people post like their ideas for improvement, and then delegates can pitch, their percentage or whatever.
Yeah, I'm way too
Similar
lazy to
Pomelo.
think about all these great ideas. I just want to analyze other people's great ideas and decide which ones I want to promote.
If you guys want to take it one step further, we could even gamify it and have each Eden member have kind of a token and maybe have
Bro, stop.
speculating who's going to win the election. And then if you get you bought the tokens of the new chief delegate, then that token goes up in value. Yeah.
Yo, all in on all of these things for sure.
Hernan, I'm driving to your house right now.
Let's code it, man. Let's code it.
Just a quick note, the chief delegates are about to go into their final meeting now, so I'm sorry I have to drop off, but you can tune in live if you'd like to.